Hello friends, welcome to Salesforce Cinematics video session 282. So basically in today's video, we will cover the concept of sample and repeatable. So it's a very easy concept, nothing much over there. So we will just quickly cover that part. So firstly, if you see in this SAQL guide, there's this term called sample. What does that mean? Let's first understand that. So it says returns a random sample from a large data set where each data point has an equal probability of being selected. This keyword uses the Bernoulli distribution. Okay, great. So firstly, let me just copy this whole thing in my notepad. We will quickly understand the definition. So this is the meaning of it. Okay. Now, what is this Bernoulli distribution? So like we can eventually check it on the Gemini. Not an issue over there. Like what does that mean? So if I just go to the AI mode, so as you can see here, it's written the Bernoulli distribution is the simplest discrete probability distribution modeling a single trial with exactly two possible outcomes. So if there's a two possible outcome, what could be the probability of getting one particular outcome? That's the meaning of Bernoulli distribution. So if you see here, it basically says it returns a random sample from a large data where each data point has an equal probability of being selected. So it's like either one will get selected or one will get not selected. Okay. So for example, let's say under an opportunity, I have, for example, let's say 40 records. Fine, which is having the stage name as closed one. So out of those 40 records, like basically it will just give me certain records. Let's say I go for a sample of 50%, it will give me out of 40, 20 records. Now from the 20, each one of them will have an equal probability of getting selected or not getting selected. Okay. So there's no other way around over here. There's no other mathematical formula which is working, right? So it's as simple as that. Now, what is the syntax? What is the syntax of this thing? So here is the syntax where they have also used this word sample along with repeatable. So let me just copy this and paste it over here, right? And sample, as they are mentioning, required, it specifies the percentage of the data set that is written as a random sample. The percentage size value can be any positive decimal. So this is the meaning of sample, okay? And that is the main important term is required. So that is definitely required. And what does that, what does this repeatable mean? It's an optional, it's create a random sample deterministically, specify a seed, okay? So we will of course walk through that and sample. I have not written this, returns the same subset each time you pass repeatable, the same value, the seed can be of any positive integer. Okay? Let me just properly write everything what was written. Okay, great. Specify a seed sample. Great. So that's the thing about this terms. We will again come to these terms. That's not an issue, but let's walk through the example. I think once we walk through the example, things will be much more clear. Okay. So what I will do is I will just quickly go to Analytics Studio. So this kind of thing we usually use when we have large millions of data sets. So when we work in production, when we work for any big clients, we will have like huge number of data sets, right? At that particular point of time, if we want to do testing with certain sample records, at that time it can be utilized. This can be very useful. Okay, this particular sample part. So now let's say I open this particular data set, which is opportunity dashboard data set, and I will just move to the SAQL mode. And as you can see here, so let me just take it on the left. So here they have given certain usage. Fine. So for example, like let's say add sample and repeatable after the load, any operation performed on the query after the load affects only the random sample of it. Let's take an example. So for example, they have given this sample 10. Now, what does this sample 10 means? It basically returns 10% of the dataset rows. Okay. So it's like 10 by 100 into whatever will be the number of rows. So let's say I just put it over there. Okay. Now, the repeatable keyword guarantees that the query always returns the same result. So I will show you that very quickly what happens with that. So for example, if I go for this sample 10, it will return more or less around the same result. So for example, it is 717, right? So what is 717 of 10? I mean, what is the 10%? It's very easy calculation. It's nothing like 71.7, isn't it? So here, I will just add this term sample 10 and let's say I run the query. Now, currently, if you see, it's giving you the value as 62, right? As I told you, it will give you around that value. It's not necessary it has to give 10%. It will give you somewhere around that value. But what they are saying is this sample 10, each time if you use it, it will give you different result. For example, right now the number is 62, right? What I will do is I will again open this particular data set and I will just run that. So earlier I got 62. Now if I just run it once again by going to SAQL mode, it should give me 62, but it may not. Okay, so we will check that part. So at that time it was giving me 62. I think somehow, yeah, it's not loading. Let's see what happened. Okay, great. So now I'm going to the SAQL mode, and here if I just put sample 10, okay, now again it's giving me 62, but on some occasion it actually doesn't give you. So let me try it out once again. Fail to fetch. Okay, not sure about that. So let me try it out once again. Let's say I go to this SAQL mode. Okay, fine. So I'm a bit surprised that it's giving me 62, but I have seen that usually it gives a separate number. Okay, some on some occasions. So let me just save it. Maybe let me just write it as sample on total op. Okay, something like that, and maybe we can save it in our SQL app. That's fine. Okay, let me click on save. Great. I have saved it. Good. Now let me just let me just again reload it and let me see what is that value which comes up for this sample 10. Okay, fine. So on some occasions, like basically it gives you different result as well. So let's say if I open this lens once again, if I go to this SQL mode, but at some later stage we can also try it out once again. But the idea is like once you put this word repeatable, right, it always gives you that same result. Okay, so here, as you know, the count of rows is 453, which is around 10% of the data set 4.6. The repeatable keyword guarantees that a query always returns the same result. Fine. So if I run that query at a later stage, there's a high possibility it may not show me 62, it may show me some different numbers like 64, 65, whatever. But once you use this keyword, right, repeatable one, it will always give you the same result. So what I will do is I will use this word repeatable, and maybe at a later stage I can show you once I open that lens how that value can change, right? So let me just save it. Yeah, and also if you see, like it gives you very much close to that result. So it's like 71.7. It's giving you close to that result, around 72, 74, which is fine, which is coming close to that result. Compared to if you just give sample 10, which like basically it gives you much lower than that. Okay, so I will just save it and maybe I can write sample and repeatable on total of. Okay, that's fine. Let me just save it. So let's walk through a few more examples. So it's just that whatever numbers you give, it will give you the percentage of that number. Okay, that's what this sample basically means. So just like if I just take this example only. So for example, I knew the total number of op records was 770. Let's say I give some value, for example, 30. So 30 means 30 by 100, right? So 30 by 100 is like 0.3, right? 0.3 into 717. Let's do that calculation very quickly. If I open the calculator, so it's like 717 into zero point 0.3, right? It is giving you 215.1. So let's see if it works out or not. Is it like two? Yeah, it's giving you 215.1. Let's see if I run the query. Yeah, that's fine. It's giving you somewhere around 215.1, like somewhere around 202, which is fine as well. Okay, but if I remove this repeatable one, let's see what it gives in that case. Oh, that's great. So basically, it's giving you 211. Fine. So ignore that part about that sample which I said, like if you give certain numbers, it will give you lower than that. That's not the case. But the problem is it behaves a bit eccentric. What means is like right now it's showing 211, at later stage might just show 200, 199. Okay, this is something I've seen. We can check this at a later stage as well. So in that way, you can always go for repeatable, where every time if you implement that query, it will give you that fixed number. So today, if I just give sample 30 and I know that my number of records are not changing, today is showing 211, tomorrow it might just show a completely different number, 215, 216, 202. It behaves a bit eccentric, but once you give that word repeatable, it will ensure that it will give you that number. Okay, so basically that's what the number we got. Ideally, it should have come around whatever we got in that calculator, right? So whatever number we got in that calculator, ideally that should have come, which is zero point 0.3 into 717, I think somewhere around 215. Okay, but it's giving me somewhere around 202, I guess, which is also fine. So let me just write that word repeatable one and let me just run the query. Okay, great, 202. So yeah, that's fine. I have already saved it. Now, in similar way, we can just try to implement the other stuffs as well. So for example, for the group by, so for group by also, like for each of the count, you can get to see what is that specific sample they will get. So you can take 10% of that. So for example, let's say I go for this opportunity and I group by that stage. So firstly, what I will do is I will open this particular data set and let's say I group by a particular stage. Okay. And let's say I just go for descending order, right? Now what I will do is I will perform the same exercise. I will take the stage name. I will go for descending order, which is great. And since I already can see the result, right? So here, what I will do is I will take sample and repeatable. Some network issue is there, not an issue. Let's see. Let's try it out once again. So here I will go for group name, stage name. And here also let me do the same exercise. And I will go for descending order. And here also the same thing. We will go for descending order. And let's say I just copy this thing. Okay. And let's say I just paste it over here, right? Okay. So let me just run this query. And here I already can see, like for example, I have 400. So let's say instead of 10, I give something like 20. Okay. So if I give something like 20, so what will be 20%? 20% like 1 by 5, right? So 1 by 5 is like 400 by 1 by 5 is like around 80, isn't it? So yeah, it's giving me 75, which is fine. And similarly, if you see 1 by 5, so it's like 5 to the 10, 5 4 to 20, right? So it's like 24. Okay, it's giving me around 18. So in that way, for example, need analysis, it should be 7, right? So need analysis giving me 30. It will give somewhere around that. It's not exactly it will give it because that's what the definition maintains as well. But it will give somewhere around that. But idea is if you put the word repeatable, it will ensure that it gives you exact same number each time you open this particular lens. Okay, so that is very important. So maybe I can just write sample and repeatable for sample and repeatable for each stage. Okay. So yeah, that is all about this video. That's the whole thing about sample and repeatable. Quite an easy concept. And here, they have something related to filter as well. You can just check that out. But ideally, that's the definition which we wanted to walk through, which we wanted to understand. And yeah, that's it about this. Let's meet very soon in our next one. Thank you.